What's a job that's romanticized but in reality sucks? Veterinary medicine. Fantasy. I get to work with puppies and kittens. Reality. A 3-month-old kitten died in my care. I've seen so much gore and blood and neglect. I've sent animals home with invasive cancers because family can't afford treatment. I've been the only comfort shelter animals knew before they left this world. It is a specific and exhausting kind of pain, and it isn't really talked about enough. People who say they couldn't do it because of the euthanasia have no idea. I strongly suspect being a spy doesn't involve half as many high-tech gadgets and spontaneous sexual intercourse as I've been led to believe. One former member of the CIA said the most unbelievable thing about James Bond was that he never had to file an expense report. Super boring and lonely. Keep your head down with your local, usually shitty, job you're placed in and write reports at night. For years. Typically never leads to anything. This is what I imagine the asset we have in Berlin is like. Wait your whole darn life for a call on a burner phone to assassinate a rogue CIA agent. Architect. You think you'll be designing big fancy iconic buildings. Warehouses, Walmarts, strip malls, and shitbox apartments all need architects, and that's probably what you'll end up doing. Apparently lifeguard, because nobody can find them anymore. Hey man, want to be responsible for a ton of lives for minimum wage in the hot sun? You're also going to be mistaken for a babysitter, mocked for trying to create a safe environment, and pressured to cover your unreliable coworkers' shifts. Where do I sign up? Everyone used to think it was awesome that I worked in live sports TV. 70% of the people I worked with were miserable pricks with overinflated egos, and then there were the athletes. Most, not all jobs in the environmental sector. Pay is usually quite low. You tend to work in very ugly places, landfills, contaminated sites. You are expected to get jobs done in half the time you really need with as few resources as possible. And if you are consulting for other companies, nobody really wants to be working with you to save the environment, they generally are just trying to barely meet some regulations. Journalist. Expectation. I'm gonna be the next Hunter S. Thompson and write compelling feature pieces with a unique voice and get paid to travel the world. Reality. Talking to my editor about how my contact from the cat fashion show won't call me back or do an interview unless we pay them $80 or adopt 2 cats. Game tester. I worked as a game tester for almost 3 years. Here's what it's like. Imagine a game type you don't like. Maybe soccer games. Maybe an RTS. Whatever. You now play that game, 8 hours a day. But you don't play it. You test it. So let's imagine an RTS. You are told to test the resource acquisition systems. All you do is click around and make sure your guys can mine gold and harvest lumber. You click around the map and mine and forest. There is no combat. They've turned that off for your testing. There is no story, because you just flick from level to test the resource system. You test using 1 guy. You testing using 100 guys. You make sure no other units can gather resources. You try blocking your own guys. You try killing your own guys. 8 hours a day. Every day. For weeks. You enter dozens of bugs. They put out a patch that fixes the bugs. You have to retest every level and every bug to make sure they're all fixed. That's game testing. Lawyer. Number of historic, life-changing, precedent-setting cases participated in, 0. Number of angry, self-entitled, abusive clients wanting to screw each other over, 842. Number of pages of paperwork that sucked up free time and social life, 84,836. Chef a cook a shit pay. Toxic work environment. Shitty hot working conditions. Megalomaniac or incompetent management and owners. Long shitty hours. Working every weekend and every holiday. The only people you will see regularly are your co-workers. And most people descend into alcoholism or drug abuse to cope. Most people get into it because they're passionate about it, and most bosses will take advantage of this. I spent 10 years in this field. I walked away with nothing other than the knowledge I gained, then had to re-enter to workforce at the bottom at the age of 30. Been out 5 years now, and started making more money and working less hours within a year. I wish I'd left sooner. Working on a film. If your crew, it sucks. Long hours for what seem like very slow progress on the picture, lots of standing around waiting, etc. You arrive well before everyone else and leave after everyone else. If this is an indie production, you also may have to beg a chase down for your pay at the end of each week. Oh, and when the film wraps, you're now unemployed. Ballerina. Fortunately, you won't be doing it for very long. In order to have a shot at dancing ballet professionally, you have to train your entire life. Once you make it, you'll be paid so little that you'll share lodging with a half-dozen other dancers, since you make less than a server at a casual dining restaurant. And even then, the odds of still being a professional dancer after 30 are almost nil. If you want to stay in the field, you basically have to move into teaching, which tends to pay so poorly that you'll need to find a second job. Archaeologist, specifically field archaeology. 99% of the time you find absolutely nothing. It's often physically demanding, sometimes grueling. The pay is shit. There are no benefits. You have to constantly travel. There's very little stability. I could go on. Doctor. Fantasy. I make lots of money. Everyone respects me. Reality. I watch people die every day, work exhausting 12-hour shifts, have crippling depression, and multiple addictions. Musician. Show up at club at 5 p.m. or earlier, unload, set up, mic check, wait hours for show to start, get shitty bar food or local fast food, play to half-empty room, tear down, load into vehicles. Hopefully get paid enough to cover expenses, leave club 2 to 3 a.m., covered in sweat and physically exhausted, either drive to another location or shitty hotel. Lather, rinse, and repeat. It's a grind for 99% of the musicians out there. My God, I miss it though. Anything in modern-day publishing. How many television shows and movies must I watch where the plucky young upstart graduates from college and gets a job at the magazine or newspaper of their choice and is respected and can make a living? The pay sucks, you're in constant danger of being laid off when your pub folds, usually, and it's usually a pretty corporate environment where you're tasked with multiple jobs for little hope of advancement. The names high up on the mastheads are usually those of rich people, and it's because they started off rich and could afford to stay in the industry. I got an offer for my dream internship once at a publishing company right out of college. Unpaid. In New York. Yeah, I can afford to move to a place with 5 times the cost of living than where I am for a full-time job for no money. Sometimes I wonder where I'd be if I'd jumped at the chance. Then I realize homeless in NY. This is one of the many ways the rich stay rich. I had to friends in college who had to turn down White House internships because they were unpaid. I have another friend who had to turn down an internship at a popular night talk show because it was unpaid. They all took much less prestigious internships, the jobs that actually paid them. The people in those prestigious internships will be able to write their ticket anywhere after a couple years, but many people can't afford to have their parents pay their bills in a new city for years to get that golden experience. Probably anything in the entertainment industry. It's bogged down by a lot of workers' rights violations, insane hours during crunch time, no work-life balance. And you don't even get paid much because your employers and society at large think it's a privilege to even be working in the industry. Thanks for watching our video. If you like it, please smash the subscribe and like button to support the channel so that we can create more quality content in the future.